There. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. And we'll start with before we start, I'd like to inform everyone that Rex and Bernice have previous commitments for today. And I guess I'll move that we have making a motion for him to be excused for the meeting. All in favor? Carried. Okay, approval of the MPC meeting minutes. No, approval of the MPC meeting agenda. Alice?
I so move the
Okay,
approval.
is there any additions first? Don?
Yes, I'd like sometime if we could all review the land use bylaw that came into effect here this spring. That's the council.
Go ahead.
Question through the chair to Don. Did you want to do it on council or committee of the whole?
Do you have specific concerns?
Yeah, I think there's a few items in there that could be adjusted, improved.
That would have to be done during a council meeting, would it not? How urgent? Would you like it on the next council meeting?
I'd like to see it done before we have the summer break. I'd like to have it done before we see the summer break.
We got room on the next council agenda for a short discussion.
All right. I cut your mic when I turned mine on, sorry.
Okay, Ben?
I was just going to say if I would hate to see us go in and discuss the whole land use bylaw. If you've got some specific concerns, I think they need to be part of the agenda so we know which ones we're dealing with.
Mr. Chairman, the other option would be a committee of the whole, and I know that Councillor Booth would like to talk about fees and charges as well, so committee of the whole meeting could be arranged. But let's discuss that. If the council could discuss that at the council meeting, and then you could establish a committee of the whole meeting and we can get that information together.
Okay, we'll wait. We'll put it on the agenda for committee of
Yeah.
the whole. And then if we have a committee of the whole, and if the committee of the whole gets not going to happen, then we'll get it on a council meeting. How's that sound?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, any other additions? Alice voted to approve the adopted, changed amended agenda. All in favor? Carried. I got something going on with my tongue. Okay. Unfinished request for decision. I have some planning. Yeah. I'm on a council meeting. That's why I'm having trouble. There we go.
So
Approval of the May 16th, 2017 MPC minutes.
I so move.
Any concerns or questions? All in favor? Carried. And we'll start with development permit applications, file number DP 2017-57. And whenever you're ready, Suzanne.
So the proposal is in Division 3. It is 3 variance requests for an existing shed, a rear deck, and a front porch. The legal description is Plan 771-1065, Block 11, Lot 37 in Carsland. The owner is Christina Scott. The applicant is Randall Jarvis Law Office. Parcel size is 6,058 square feet. It's zoned Hamlet Residential General. The applicant submitted a real property report for compliance review, and there were 3 structures which did not comply, so the applicant is requesting 3 variances as per the following. The wood shed in the backyard does not meet the land use bylaw requirements because it's supposed to be 4 feet from the rear and side property lines, and it is 1.74 feet from the side property line and 0.33 feet from the rear property line. So it requires a variance of 1.12 meters or 99%. The rear deck does not meet the land use bylaw because it's supposed to be 4 feet from the side yard property line, and it is 1.87 feet, so that's a variance of 46% or 0.65 meters. And the front porch does not meet the setbacks to the front property line because it's supposed to be 6.10 meters or 20 feet, and it is 13.41 feet, requiring a variance of 67%. So our land use bylaw, here's our requirements, as I've already spoken about them. Variances, the development authority may approve a development permit even though it does not comply with the bylaw if, in the opinion of the development authority, the development would not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood or materially interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring parcels, or the proposed development conforms with a similar use prescribed for that land or building in this bylaw. So I did a circulation to Superior Safety Codes, and they said if the freestanding shed is 2 feet from the property, it must have a 5/8-inch fire-rated drywall on that wall closest to the property line. If it's moved over 4 feet, no problem. If no soffit or roof overhang is on that side, no shed, garage, or house can have soffits on the side that has venting within 18 to 48 inches of the property line. They must be solid or non-venting soffits. There are no code issues with the decks. There was no concerns in the file review meeting or from landowners. It is my recommendation there's 3 options: to approve all 3 variance requests, to refuse all 3 variance requests, or to approve the variance request for the front porch, front yard setback, but not the rear deck or the rear shed. Or option 4, MPC can choose an alternate recommendation of your choosing. So my recommendation is to approve option 3 with the following conditions. This permit is issued for the purpose of a front porch deck with a variance to the front yard setback defined as a deck with a variance. Variance to the front porch deck has been granted, allowing the deck to be located 20 feet from the front property line. No variances have been granted for the shed. The motion on the RFD. I'm reading it off of this, though, so I'll have, okay. I have to bring this up then in another format. And we'll go to here. So, but how can I, yeah, I have to read it from here. Okay, so the variance to the front porch deck has been granted, allowing the deck to be located 20 feet from the front property line. No variances has been granted for the shed because the shed encroaches 0.69 meters into the setback to the side property line and 1.12 meters into the setback to the rear property line. The shed may interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring parcels of land, and there is ample room to relocate the shed on the property. The shed which has been constructed shall be removed, moved, or altered so that it meets the prescribed setback within 1 month of the notice of decision. No variances has been granted for the rear deck because it encroaches 0.65 meters into the setback to an adjacent property and may interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring parcels of land. The deck which has been constructed shall be removed or altered so that it meets the prescribed setback within 1 month of the notice of decision. Development shall proceed according to Hamlet Residential General District requirements, and the applicant must comply with the land use bylaw. No permanent development shall occur on or over any utility right-of-way or easement. And our notes, construction shall conform to Alberta Safety Code regulations and shall meet all provincial and or federal legislation. So there is a location plan within the hamlet of Carsland on Cole Crescent. And so this is the wood shed, showing that it's only 0.1 meters from the rear, 0.53 from the side. The wood deck, which just has this little jut out to the side, which makes it 0.57 meters from the side property line. And then the front deck, which is 4.09. Excuse me. So there's an aerial photo, there's the shed. Difficult to see this side deck, it's kind of in a shadow, and then there's the front porch. And there's some photos of the shed. And the rear deck. Rear deck again. And that's the front deck. And that's everything, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns? Alice?
Through the chair to Suzanne, and this might be not a totally fair question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. With changing the land use bylaw to the changes we've done, is that going to create some other issues with neighboring homes and within the Cars land? Is that what you're suspecting?
Regarding setbacks for Hamlet Residential General, these haven't changed with this new bylaw. So I'm not sure if that's what you're asking. Is that what you're asking?
Exactly what
Yeah.
I was asking.
Yeah, no, they haven't changed.
So our setbacks are the same as they were on the old one? That's what I thought, but my memory's not as good.
Yeah.
And so those setbacks haven't changed, so then these are in direct violation of those setbacks that we've had for a
Yes.
number of years.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair to Susan, you talked that woodshed at the back. It's not only in violation of our setbacks, but there's a safety code issue with that one because of fire, I'm assuming?
There is a safety code issue as well, yes. My recommendation was based on the land use bylaw provisions because even if the shed met all of the safety code and had the proper soffits and everything, in my opinion, it's still too close to the property line. I still would not recommend approval either way.
Well, that's what I was looking at. If it doesn't meet our setback, but it also, and I see in your overhead picture that it's right across the fence, so it looks like the neighbor's garage. So I don't have an issue with the two decks, but I think that the woodshed, it'd only take 10 minutes to move that anyway, so, from the looks of it, so. I wouldn't have an issue granting the setback on the two decks, but the woodshed, I think, needs to be moved.
Through the chair to Don. Option 3 was the recommendation just to have the woodshed removed and then the woodshed and the back deck removed. So we would have to go with option 4, which would be to grant the variance for both decks and not the woodshed. So we would have to do an option 4 on that. And what would the conditions be? What would change on the conditions on that? Through the chair to Suzanne.
So I didn't prepare conditions for every possible scenario because I could have prepared like a lot of different conditions. So I would say then that the first two conditions would be the same, the third condition would be the same, and the fourth condition would change and say a variance has been granted for the rear deck. And it would have the variance distances in the condition. So I'd say just the fourth condition would change and say a variance has been granted rather than saying no variance has been granted.
Okay. Any other questions? Thoughts?
Do you want?
John? Nothing? Board's wishes?
I move we accept option 4 for file number SD 2017-15.
Which is?
The removal of the shed. The variances to the decks.
Mr. Chairman, that's not the motion. The motion's up here. The only thing you take out is no in front of variance on number 4. Shed has to be moved, but not necessarily removed. It just needs to meet the setbacks for safety code.
Okay. That's right.
Development permit DP 2017-63. Whenever you're ready, Suzanne.
Today is the day for variance requests, so this is also is in Division 3. It's a variance for an existing shed for the setback to the property line and the setback between buildings. It's located in Plan 031-1146, Block 2, Lot 8 in Speargrass. The owners are Landon and Natasha Pitts, and the applicant is Hemming and Associates. The parcel size is 8,084 square feet, and the zoning is Speargrass low-density residential. The applicant submitted a real property report for compliance review, and the property did not meet the required setbacks, so 2 variances have been requested. The prescribed setback distance from an accessory building to a side yard should be 4 feet, and the drawings indicate the shed is located 1.25 feet from the property line, requiring a variance of 69%. And the prescribed setback between structures is 5 feet, and the drawings indicate there is no separation between the shed and the dwelling, requiring a variance of 100%. So there's our setbacks for that zoning. And again, a variance, the development authority may approve a development permit even though it does not comply with the land use bylaw if it does not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood, materially interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring parcels of land, and the proposed development conforms with a similar use prescribed for that land. So the safety code inspector said the shed close to the house of closer than 2 feet to the property line must be of non-combustible construction with no roof soffits. No roof soffits are allowed within 18 inches of a property line. If a shed is attached to the house, it will have to have a proper foundation below the frost line as well as be drywalled like an attached garage is. There was no concerns from the internal circulation or the neighbor circulation. So the 3 options: to approve the variance request for the shed, to refuse the variance request for the shed with reasons, or to approve an alternative recommendation of MPC's choosing. And it is my recommendation to accept option 2 and refuse the variance request because the shed encroaches 69% into the setback to an adjacent property and may interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring parcels of land. The location of the shed also encroaches 100% into the setback to the dwelling on the subject property, and there's ample room to relocate the shed on the property. The shed shall be removed or moved so that it meets the setbacks within 1 month of the notice of decision. So there's the location plan on Wyndham Parkway in Speargrass. And there is the site plan. So the shed is right abutting the house. And there is an aerial photo, but you can't really see the shed in this photo. There's the shed. So it's 0.38 meters to the property line, and then it's abutting the house right there. And that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions or concerns? Don?
So you're saying the shed has to have a basement put under it?
It says that it needs to be below the frost line, a certain distance
that's
below the
8
frost
feet.
line.
Well,
I'm not sure.
3 feet, all depends on the winter. So it has to have a cement foundation?
If that's what the safety code inspector said. So he said, I'll read it again. No roof soffits are allowed. If a shed is attached to the house, it will have to have a proper foundation below the frost line as well as be drywalled like an attached garage. So a proper foundation, that's that would be his call. I'm not sure what that would be.
How important is this shed? Could he have it removed?
He could have it removed. He said it's not attached to the house. He could have it moved.
That'd be the better option.
So on that one, is it a shed that has been drywalled? Like, is it fully does it have a floor in it, or?
I don't know if it has a floor, but it doesn't have all the requirements that the safety code inspector would require to have it in that
So it's not
location.
insulated and it's not?
Right.
Okay.
So
Ben?
the letter you handed out is referring to that same development?
Yes, would you like me to read that letter?
Well, you don't have to read it. I just question, were those conversations held, and was he just misunderstanding
The applicant, I believe he was just misunderstanding, because I spoke with him after that and sent him the new land use bylaw as well as the old land use bylaw, and I think he interpreted it wrong when he originally got it.
I know, just to further to that, I know, looking at the picture, that when you think about the shed being there, you can't walk by that shed without infringing on your neighbor's land. There's no way to get through there without walking on somebody else's property, so I think he should move it. I said, when you look at the picture in there, you can't walk by that shed without stepping on the neighbor's land, which doesn't seem like that big a deal, but I know some places it's a real big deal, so.
In contravention of the building code too, because of the fire.
Okay, any other questions? Concerns? That's what my computer does. I don't know either.
That just means you haven't spent enough money on technology.
Okay, board's wishes.
I'll move we follow the recommendation of staff. Be refused.
Okay. Any questions? Don?
Can we put a condition on that, or that it be removed, or does he have to reapply for the other variance?
No, you can't put conditions on that.
You can't put a condition on refusal. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we'll move to development permit DP 2017-64.
So this application is in Division 5. It's for a dwelling garden suite and a variance request to the maximum floor area and distance from the primary dwelling. The legal description is Plan 041-4137, Block 1, Lot 1 in the Northeast 12525. It's 3 miles northeast of Strathmore. The owners are Justin Jolly and Tara Klinger, and the applicants are Bill and Joelle Laughlin. The parcel size is 23.3 acres. It's zoned agricultural general. In 2015, the applicants were issued a development permit for a temporary dwelling for special care to place a second residence on the acreage owned by family members. A dwelling temporary was a discretionary use in the previous land use bylaw, and the permit was issued for a 3-year term and is due to expire on May 12, 2018. Under the current land use bylaw, a dwelling temporary is no longer listed as a use within any zone. The applicants would like to utilize the existing temporary dwelling as a garden suite, which is a discretionary use within our current LUB. A variance is requested because the bylaw states that a garden suite may only have a maximum floor area of 1,200 square feet, and their proposed garden suite has a ground floor area of 1,520 square feet. A second variance is requested because the current LUB states that a garden suite must be located a maximum of 40 feet from the primary residence, and the proposed garden suite is located 212 feet from the primary residence. Land use bylaw requirements. In Ag General, a garden suite is a discretionary use. And these are the general provisions for a garden suite. And I've just highlighted in yellow, you can read them all if you like, but in yellow it says, outside a hamlet, the maximum floor area of a garden suite is 1,200 square feet. And it says it shall be a maximum of 40 feet from the primary residence. And then it talks about design. It meets all the other criteria except for those two. And again, the variance criteria. And an agency circulation was not performed. Internal file review had no concerns, and landowners had no responses. Yeah, so we accept responses in writing. That's the ones that we bring. Oh, yes, that's correct. If she'll have a chance to speak,
Okay.
if she likes.
That's what she was told, for sure.
Yeah, okay. That's what our letters say. So the options are to approve the application, to refuse the application with reasons given, or option 3, to provide an alternative recommendation. And it is Planning and Development's recommendation that MPC choose option 2 to refuse the application for the following reasons. The application does not meet the land use bylaw section 8.6.3. The garden suite should be located in close proximity to the residential home. Outside of hamlet, the maximum floor area will be 1,200 square feet and be 40 feet from the primary residence. So here is a location plan. And there is the parcel of land north of Strathmore. There is an aerial photo. So here is the primary residence, and here is the garden suite, 212 feet apart. There's a photo of the site. And there is a photo of the garden suite. And that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Ben?
Could you go back to your bylaw where it says it shall be a maximum of 40 feet? Does that mean if it was 30 feet, it wouldn't be allowed?
It shall be a maximum of 40 feet from the primary residence, not a minimum, but a maximum. So can't be more than 40 feet from the primary residence,
Yeah,
and a minimum of 10.
yeah. Okay, the wording was sounded a little off on me. My concern is if it meets all the setbacks, and I'm sure we'll have it at other ones, if it meets all the setbacks of the property, what's our concern that it's 100 feet and not 40 feet? What's the issue around that?
Oh, there we go. Sorry, through the chair. The reason the 40-foot was put on was to try to prevent garden suites from becoming future subdivisions. So people could come in for a dwelling garden suite, put it 300-400 feet away, and then they'd be set up for a subdivision down the road, which would go against the municipal development plan's policies of removing agricultural land. That's why that 40 feet went in. So that was the rationale behind that decision. Anytime there's a variance request that exceeds the 40 feet, our development officers are going to have to recommend refusal based on the land use bylaw.
So, through the chair, then to carry that a little further, then if the setback is allowed, it still sets up that scenario, right? Because we've allowed that setback.
Through the chair, that's correct. I mean, there is site-specific conditions that are unique. Maybe the parcel's designed in a way that a subdivision wouldn't exactly be ideal, but the way the land use bylaws are written is we have to try to address overall trying to prevent subdivision. Of course, there are unique circumstances where perhaps going over the 40 feet might be warranted. That's why it's in Municipal Planning Commission's hands to make that decision based on all the information.
Thanks, Colin. Could you put the picture of the site back up there, please? Yeah, that one. Okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Did I hear there was a member of the audience wants to make a comment? Okay, please come use the podium and state your name.
I had the letter about the property, and it's sort of like an invitation to come. So, first of all, by a show of hands, how many people have been out to see that property? Of you guys that are involved in it? Okay, so I just kind of wondered. But I thought that the whole letter was wrong, in that it was saying to begin with that it was a temporary dwelling. To put in a temporary dwelling, I see now under the current land law use, temporary is no longer listed, because I figured that there should never be a temporary, because it's a fair investment when you put a dwelling on your place. Not only the cost of the building, but even you have to have a septic tank, which is around $25,000 right there. The second variance is the size, for a 1,400 square feet, or theirs is 1,500. And I don't really think that it should be up to you guys to tell you how much a person or how big of a place they can put there. It depends on their circumstances and what's going on in their lives and their families' lives. And so I think that is a wrong thing to do. I don't think you guys have the right to tell me or anyone what size of a building I could put on as a secondary residence. And I was going to say the 40 feet, whatever, I was just thinking that you have to look at the property, because if you go over there, it's really nice. It's like a park going over into that place. And it just depends on where everything is situated. That was about the only spot that was really the best spot to put that place, because it didn't affect it. And then there's also things about where the utilities are or whatever. So I don't think that you guys should have the right to say how far it will be. So, but anyways, I really approve that they have this, because it's very nice, and it's a very asset to our good community here. So I just wanted to say that I was against the variances, and that's like with the bylaws, and that's, I agree with Dawn, that they need to go over some of these bylaws. And the thing was that I was at a meeting here in November, and Don Morgan was here, and he actually asked Glenn at that meeting about passing the bylaws. And Glenn assured him twice, because you can go back on the website and look, that you guys wouldn't pass these bylaws until after the election. So I just wanted to say that happened there. And so I know Glenn was one of the ones that voted for the bylaws. So I just wanted to tell you, you know, that was your word. So anyways, thank you for allowing me to talk. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else care to make it? Please use the podium.
Hi, sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. My name is Tara Klinger-Jolly. This is our home here, and these are my in-laws that have moved on with us. So I just want to express and address a few concerns. We, you know, as a family, we have 2 little boys, and this is our plan for our future, to have our in-laws live with us on this land, which is why we, you know, 2 years ago, they sold everything, and we built a beautiful home for them to live with us, and so we can care for them as they age. And I can honestly say we followed every single requirement by the county. We crossed every T and dotted every I. They invested everything they had to make this a place that they could live as they retire. We have no plan to subdivide. Our plan is to let them age on our property as long as possible and to care for them as they do that. We share well, so it's not possible for us to subdivide and sell to a stranger, as far as I know. Our land is also in a P shape. We had initially asked about subdividing. We were told it was unlikely that we would be approved for subdivision because of the shape of our land and the access to the road. To me, it just seems, if our plan could continue, it seems an awful shame to have to move a house 150 feet over. You know, we did everything right. It was quite a shock to us to find out that the land use bylaws had changed. So we're hoping that these variances will just let us continue on with what I'm assuming the county is hopeful for its residents, that we obviously take great care with our land and we're good residents in the county and we pay our taxes and for every permit and, you know, we follow all the rules. So we're hoping that these variances will allow us to continue on doing what our plan was, which is to allow our in-laws to, you know, retire and age with our grandsons there and shoveling their walk and helping them with what they need. And at the time that they do move on, that trailer will be removed. There's no plans for us to have anyone else reside there in the future. Thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Any questions?
Just a comment through the chair. My question for the reason for the 40 feet when Colton explained it makes sense to me on the generally throughout the land use bylaw. There will be times when it makes sense. This one, I agree with you. I don't think there's any possible way you can subdivide that and make it work. And if you were looking at it, it would have to come back to council. And there'd be some fairly deep discussions on anything that was subdivided out of that, the way the building structure and everything else is. So I don't, with Colton's explanation, I don't have an issue allowing the setbacks myself. I just wanted to know why that distance was in there. And it makes sense why it's in there, but I don't think it applies to this parcel.
Okay, well, thanks. Thanks a lot for coming up. Any other comments? Board's wishes?
So just, I do have a comment. Based upon accepting for application for approval, did you have a set of conditions that aren't on here?
Yes, I do.
Could you bring those up, please?
This development permit is issued solely for the purpose of a second dwelling defined as a garden suite. Maximum, or a variance has been granted allowing the garden suite to have a maximum floor area of 1,520 square feet and be located 212 feet from the primary residence. Development shall proceed according to AG district requirements. No permanent development on or over any utility right-of-way or easement. An applicant to ensure approach is developed to county standards. And then our standard 2 notes would be on there as well.
Okay. Actually, as I kind of think it's also grandfathered in, I would move to, for approval and with these conditions attached.
Approval of the variances,
Yes.
not because of grandfathering.
Yeah.
Just
but
approval of the
that was just-
variances
yeah.
with these conditions.
Approval of the variance with these conditions.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thanks for coming in. And we'll move to development permit 2017-70.
Good morning. I'm going to start with the request for decision. So this is for DP 2017-70. The recommendation is that the Municipal Planning Commission choose option 2, refusal of the development permit, for the following reasons. The application does not meet the Land Use Bylaw Section 863. The garden suite should be located in close proximity to the residential home. It shall be a maximum of 40 feet from the primary residence. The applicant has moved on a 525 square foot garden suite onto the parcel for a family member to live in. This is the second dwelling on the parcel. Just going to go to my report. So the legal description is Southwest 17, 2226. The proposal is for a dwelling garden suite with a variance request. It is located approximately 5 miles west of Carsland. The owners are Mark and Audrey Roy, and the applicant is Mark Roy. Parcel size is 9.55 acres. It is currently zoned agricultural general. The applicant has moved on a 525 square foot, that's the main floor area, garden suite onto the parcel for a family member to live in. The garden suite shares the water well with the primary residence. The garden suite has a separate private sewage disposal system. This is the second dwelling on the parcel. The applicant is requesting a variance to the primary dwelling. The applicant moved the garden suite 120 feet from the primary dwelling. The land use bylaw states the distance between the primary dwelling and a garden suite is to be a maximum of 40 feet. So the land use bylaw does not meet section 8.6 of the dwelling garden suite section, which states that it shall be a maximum of 40 feet from the primary residence. Circulated to the WID with no concerns. It went to internal file review, and Judy Unsworth, our fire and emergency management coordinator, stated that given the age, construction, and obvious installation of the wood burning stove in this garden suite, I would strongly encourage compliance with all Alberta Building Code. Additionally, I endorse a building permit and whatever inspections result from that be completed before approval of the DP. Neighboring landowners, one response was received in supporting the application. We have our 3 options, which is to approve the application, refuse the application, or approve an alternate recommendation. As I stated in my RFD, the Municipal Planning Commission, it's the recommendation to choose option 2 to refuse the application based on section 863 that the garden suite does not meet the maximum 40-foot requirement from the primary residence. This is the location plan. This is Carsland, and you'll see it's over here on Range Road 265. This is an aerial photo. These aerial photos were taken in 2016. At the time that the aerial photos were taken, the dwelling hadn't been moved on the parcel. So the approximate location is here, the second dwelling, and this is the primary dwelling right here, and it's 120 feet between structures. I went out, did a site inspection. There are a lot of trees in this area. When I went out in the summer, it was very hard to see the distance between the two, so I used the ones that I took in the winter. This is the garden suite. Here's a close-up. I included the land use bylaw section of the garden suite. I did highlight the area. It does comply with all other requirements of this section other than the 40-foot from the primary residence. The neighbor response was also included in your package. And that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Brenda?
So, through the chair, when they have shared services, like amenities, shared services like that, is there anything, I'm just trying to think, I read the thing, but the land use bylaw, does that include shared services with garden suites? Because I'm looking at the setbacks, and yes, I realize that Colton says that 40 feet, and that prevents it from future subdivision. But I'm also thinking about these setbacks from sides and back of properties, whether they could ever redo that because of the setbacks. So if we increase the, and that's a discussion I think Don wants to have, is on the setbacks or the maximum for garden suites. So is there another formula we could use?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what your question is. Do they meet all of the setbacks on the property except the one
Which is the
between the two
maximum.
dwellings?
Yeah.
They do share a water well. However, this particular second dwelling has its own private sewage disposal system.
Right. But if
So-
they have any kind of shared amenities, they would have to come back for a subdivision. They couldn't have shared amenities on a subdivision.
Correct. So through subdivision, you have to have your own private sewage disposal system and water well.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing they could, if they decided to subdivide it, could possibly have its own water well. I'm not sure.
So I guess my question would be that a garden suite could be, as part of our change to our land use bylaw, if it's shared services, shared wells or sewer or those kind of things, we could maybe bring that back in as well as a conversation at the committee of the whole.
Through the chair, under the current land use bylaw, a garden suite can have shared services as it currently stands. I wouldn't use that as a mechanism to try to prevent subdivision. Even the 40-foot rule, it doesn't outright say you can't have a subdivision. It makes it a bit trickier. And if council wants to look at expanding that, that's fine, and that's your decision or council's decision. With the 40-foot rule, we have that in the land use bylaw. We have it so it goes to MPC so that you can look at these unique sites and make that determination that if it looks like it fits and it belongs as the decision was made with the previous one and potentially this one as well, that's MPC's decision to make. And staff doesn't have an issue with that. We just want to make sure it goes through the public process with that. So I don't want to look at the land use bylaw as trying to restrict and only make it to that 40-foot. Overall, that's what staff's of the opinion it should be, but we do believe there is a degree of discretion that should be considered as well.
Comments?
I don't have an issue with this one either for the same reasons as the last. The other part of it is if they do subdivide, if it's ever applied, the square footage of the building doesn't fit anyways, because you have to meet a certain square footage for your primary residence, right?
Through the chair, under the new land use bylaw, the size of the building wouldn't be an issue for them to subdivide in the future. Like it's 400 square feet's our minimum, and this one's 525.
Don, did you have your hand up?
No, I was just going to move that we accept this application with a variance of 120 feet.
Okay. Any other comments?
Do you want conditions on that, or?
Conditions?
In the event that Mark sells the whole place, that maybe at that time, it would have to be readdressed. But he can't subdivide now as it stands.
We have a recommendation from staff that it complies with the Alberta building codes because of a fire and a wood-burning stove in it. That could be a condition. Yeah. She'll be listing them here shortly.
So I did prepare conditions in case MPC wanted to approve this application. This development permit is issued solely for the purpose of a second dwelling defined as a dwelling garden suite. A variance has been granted to allow the dwelling to be 120 feet from the primary residence. Development shall proceed according to the Ag general requirements of the land use bylaw. No permanent development shall occur on or over any utility right-of-way or easement. And the applicant to assure the approach is developed to county standards. And our 2 standard notes would also be included. So through the chair, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to confirm that if this application is approved, the applicant would be required to obtain safety code permits to make sure that the structure was to safety code.
Okay. Those are your conditions?
Yeah,
Any questions?
I got a question
Huh?
for Judy. We live in a house that's 101 years old and it's got a fireplace in it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean we got to take that fireplace out?
No, it doesn't mean that at all.
No, it doesn't mean that at all. You're not asking for a variance.
Yeah.
That's only when you're asking for a variance, we'd
Yeah.
be suggesting that.
Just a
right.
question.
Alice?
If the people have insurance on this building, under the insurance policy, the stove is all, has to be inspected and everything before you can even get insurance on the house, because I know I proved that myself. So with insurance on the building, that the fireplace or the stove has to be to code. So that's probably already done. We shouldn't be putting in that they have to do a fire safety. That's already required.
Kim?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is here in case you would like to hear from them.
Okay.
Through the chair, we're not asking them to get rid of anything. We're just telling them to meet the codes.
Yeah, that's a standard condition. The applicant wish to say anything? Sure. Okay, please.
Can I say something?
Whoa, okay.
Mark used to be a heck of a cowboy in his day and competed in Calgary many a time. But the unfortunate part, his son plays for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'm Mark Roy, obviously. I've just been listening to this 40-foot rule and all that stuff, and you guys wondering or worried about us subdividing. I mean, obviously, the pictures show it's in the middle of my yard.
Mm-hmm.
I've already subdivided 20 acres into 3 parcels, so I'm pretty sure I wouldn't get another grant or, you know, permission to do another subdivision. It wasn't moved there to, you know, as a rental property or anything like that. It was simply for my son to live in when he's home.
Mm-hmm.
And 120 feet still pretty close. but anyhow, I mean, that's about all I got to say. So, I mean, we're not here to subdivide anymore, and I own the adjacent land, and that's just the way it is. I mean,
okay.
Obviously, we didn't go through the right channels when we moved it there. You know, I didn't know I needed a permit to move a cabin onto a place or whatever, but we've since straightened that out with Kim, and I guess that's about all I got to say.
Okay. I'd like to thank you for that, for sure.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Any other comments? Go ahead.
I'm Bryn Roy. I'm the, I guess, resident
Okay.
of the cabin. I just wanted to address the, you guys had been mentioning the wood-burning stove. It has been, everything is put to code with the stove as far as following all the instructions and distance from the wall and, you know, pad underneath it, everything, distance from the roof, pitch, all that. So safety-wise, everything is fine with the cabin, and the rules have been followed. So I just wanted to, since that had been brought up as a possible concern, I wanted to address that.
Okay, thanks for that.
No comment to this guy for downgrading?
No comment.
Okay.
Mr.
Jim?
Chairman, Judy is here if you have any questions with regards to fire.
Okay, any questions? Got
You have
anything you want to say, Judy?
You have a motion on the floor.
I know
so
we
you
do.
can
We
vote
do.
on the motion.
Yeah.
If there's no question.
Okay, if there's no questions. But I'm open for comments, so I've asked before if there's any more. So those are your conditions?
I just want
Don
to
moved.
clarify. I just want to clarify, it's a move for approval with those conditions.
Yeah.
Cool.
Don's made the motion, those are the conditions, plus the standard too. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you for coming in, and good luck this year. Okay, next one is file DP 2017-71. I'll declare a conflict as this is my property, and I'll be available outside the door there if there's any questions. Otherwise, I'll be outside of the room, okay? Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Is it around here?
Come back.
So we have development permit DP 2017-71. The request for decision is the recommendation that the Municipal Planning Commission choose option 2, refusal of development permit application. The application does not meet the land use bylaw section 9.1. The grain bins do not meet the minimum front yard setback of 75 feet from Township Road 264, and also does not meet the minimum setback between building structures of 5 feet. The applicant is proposing to build two 19-foot aeration grain bins set back 15 feet to Township Road 264. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow the grain bins to be 15 feet from Township 264 and 4 feet between the bins. Let's go to my development permit report. The legal description, Northwest 19, 2623. It is located 3 miles west of Rockyford. The owners, G&L Kester Farms. The applicant, Glenn Kester. Parcel size 160 acres, currently zoned Ag General. This does not look like my report that I had submitted. I added something to it. So section 4.26 of the land use bylaw states grain bins do not require a development permit as long as they comply with all provisions of the bylaw. In this case, the applicant is requesting the grain bins be closer to the road right-of-way and closer to each other than the bylaw states. The applicant is proposing to replace 2 wooden grain bins with metal bins. The applicant is proposing to build 2 19-foot diameter grain bins. These are aeration grain bins and require electrical power. The applicant is requesting a variance to locate the grain bins 15 feet from the right-of-way to Township Road 264. The land use bylaw states the minimum setback is 75 feet to the right-of-way of a county road. The distance between the grain bins is approximately 4 feet, and the land use bylaw states the setback between structures is to be 5 feet. So section 9.1 of the Ag General District states that the front yard setback is 75 feet from the right-of-way of a public road. Section 9.1 states that the setback between the structures is to be 5 feet. Section 431 of the variances states that anything over 10% requires municipal planning commission decision. And I have one more in there. And section 4.2, development permits not required. 422, notwithstanding the exception of the below developments from requiring a development permit, all developments shall comply with the provisions and regulations of this bylaw and must be carried out in accordance with all other applicable federal, provincial, and county legislation bylaws. For example, accessory building grain bins for agricultural purposes. So agency circulation was not performed. File review, Robin Glacier, our land agent, stated that there has been road widening taken on the north side only if the township road adjacent to the lands subject of the development permit application for the siting of bins. Road Plan 1051JK was registered in April 1962 for a widening through the South 2829 and 302623. She says that she does not know if they would require widening in the future on the south side of the parcel. Mike Zier for Management, Transportation and Utilities. Due to the existing location of the shelter belt on the property, siting these new bins at the reduced setback will not negatively affect the road or users of the road. The drifting of the snow will likely remain the same as the existing shelter belt is quite established. Also, it would be very unlikely that the county would have to remove these structures or shelter belt in the event of road reconstruction. The costs associated with replacing the privately owned trees, as well as the reluctance of the landowner to allow access, forces the county to remain within the road allowance in these situations. No responses were received from neighboring landowners. So we have 3 options: to approve the application, to refuse the application, or provide alternate recommendation. So as stated before, my recommendation is option 2, to refuse the application for the following reasons. The application does not meet the land use bylaw section 9.1. The grain bins do not meet the minimum front yard setback of 75 feet from Township Road 264. and also does not meet the minimum setback between structures of 5 feet. Here is the location. This is Rockyford, and this is the parcel here. This is an aerial photo. These are the grain bins here. These 3 will be staying. These 2 wooden grain bins are the ones that are going to be removed and replaced with the 19-foot ones, which is going to bump them a little closer to the road. You'll see how far away they are right now. The house is over here. I'll show you the next picture. This is the applicant's site plan. This is the water pivot radius around here. Comes very close to the houses, the barns, and the Quonset and the cattle corrals. Sorry. This is the location here we're talking about. There are existing grain bins on this side. I do have pictures. Went out, did a site inspection. The second wooden grain bin has already been removed. These 3 are existing. This is the other wood grain bin that's going to be removed. This is how close these bushes are, right on the property line. So this is the other one that's going to be removed. I did include section 9 of the land use bylaw, highlighting the areas of the variances request. And that's everything. Thank you.
That's everything? Thanks, Kim. Any questions? Comments? Go ahead.
So just a question, I guess. What is the total distance between the existing grain bin and the road? Like the property line?
The metal ones or the wooden ones?
The metal ones? The big metal,
The metal ones meet the setback, don't they?
Well, I'm guessing most of them do not meet the setbacks.
Okay.
Currently, the applicant is saying that the wooden one that's there right now is about 20 feet from the property line, right here.
Yeah.
And it wants to replace it with 2 19-foot, so it's going to bump it closer to the road, which would make it about 15 feet from the property line.
So the metal ones that are on the south side of those wooden ones don't meet the setback either?
They probably don't, but they're probably considered legal non-conforming. He's not changing those ones. Can only deal with the 2 that are going to be placed on the property.
So that big bin that's there, the third one down, the 2 beyond that one right there, what's the setback on that one?
That one, it wouldn't matter because it would be grandfathered anyways.
It's considered legal non-conforming until they change something.
Exactly. So I guess does it meet the setback? Because my thought is if that big grain bin, that, what's the name on the bin? Butler bin, the big round one, if it meets the setbacks, then.
Well, my concern is not so much whether they do, they're already there, they're grandfathered.
Yeah.
But removing the 2 wooden ones, and he's asking for relaxation to put the other ones in, there is other spots. I know it might be a bit of a hardship, but there are other places he could put those aeration bins. And if there was ever that road constructed, the Carriganas are a lot easier to move than a concrete foundation with a bin on top of it, so. And if you remove the 2 wooden ones, then the sight line I'm looking at from the bins closer to the corner and to the other side of the property are all about the same, but if you put 2 more bins in there, then those 2 bins are really pushing the
Limit.
the setback. So I know what he's trying to do, but it's not a very good example.
Through the chair, the distance from that larger grain bin to the property line, now this is an estimate, it's not completely accurate, is about 53 feet.
even at that, it would be legally non-conforming at that rate, and that's 50, so, yeah. I just
That particular bin is considered legal non-conforming,
conforming at
correct?
50 feet, yeah.
Go ahead, Alice.
Yes, it's an opportunity to correct the issue that was there with the wooden bins being removed. I agree with Ben that this is the opportunity to then allow them to be conforming and move them off of the right-of-way and meet the requirement of 75 feet. I agree with that.
Mr. Chairman, when I was speaking with the applicant with regards to his application, he did state that they would have to be connected to electricity for the aeration portion, and this is why he's chosen that spot, just so that you're aware.
Yeah, I know, that's why I said it'll be a bit of a nuisance for him, but I realize that. Anybody else, anybody in the public have any comments? Okay, anything else from council? MPC? God. And I wrote it here too. Any other comments from MPC? If not, what are the wishes? Alice?
I'll approve the recommendation of MPC on 2017-71 for refusal.
You move the recommendation of staff.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
staff.
okay, good enough. Any other questions? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'll just wait for the Reeve to come back in and take a break for then we've got subdivision applications. 5-minute break.
5-minute break, what could do?
5 minutes. If you can't smoke it in that time, don't start it.
And we'll do our subdivision applications. We'll start with file SD 2017-11. Whenever you're ready, Colton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this application is to facilitate a boundary adjustment of 1.62 hectares or 4 acres. So our recommendation is that staff's recommending option 1, that subdivision application SD 2017-11 be approved with the conditions noted in Appendix A based on the following. The proposed boundary adjustment largely aligns with the objectives and policies of the MDP. The proposed boundary adjustment aligns with the rules and regulations of the land use bylaw. And staff has no concerns with the servicing and access for this proposed boundary adjustment. So staff's recommending option 1, subdivision be approved with the conditions noted. Give a bit of background on this application. The application is for the boundary adjustment of 4 acres from the southeast 292326 west of the 4th to Lot 1, Plan 881-1334. The purpose of the boundary adjustment is due to a concern regarding spraying from the adjacent farm onto the vegetation of the smaller acreage. Both parcels are designated agricultural general district as per the land use bylaw, and therefore no redesignation was required to facilitate this boundary adjustment. I'll now go down to the staff report that informed our recommendation. Actually, I'm just going to leave it, sorry. Just going to leave it on the recommendation here as I go through the staff report. Okay. So no new parcels are proposed with this application. It's just the boundary adjustment. We reviewed this through the municipal development plan and found that it aligns with some aspects of the municipal development plan while contradicting other aspects of the MDP. In regards to the protection of environmentally sensitive areas, the proposed boundary adjustment aligns with the document as it doesn't impact any environmentally sensitive areas and it does not impact the existing wetland on the parcel. It also does not align with the agricultural policies of the MDP as noted in section 3.1 as it removes additional agricultural lands from production to bring it into a parcel that is currently used for largely residential purposes. That said, the additional land being brought into the smaller parcel from the remnant quarter appears to have not been cultivated over the past few years to provide a buffer between the residential dwelling and agricultural lands. The rationale provided by the applicant for the boundary adjustment is to avoid the potential for spray on the crops to impact the vegetation on the smaller parcel, which further emphasizes the importance of following the MDP's agricultural objectives and policies when staff consider new subdivision applications. There is an impact on landowners when there's differing land uses, and buffering, site design, and following appropriate rural planning principles can help address these concerns to ensure future site changes, such as the boundary adjustment, are not required. In terms of the land use bylaw, the proposed boundary adjustment area and the existing parcels have a land use designation of agricultural general district. Any future development will be required to align with the rules and regulations set out in the land use bylaw. Staff then conducted our technical review. Both parcels have access off of Township Road 234. As a condition of subdivision approval, the existing approaches will need to be inspected and signed off on by Public Works to ensure they meet county standards. In terms of water and sanitary servicing, as this is a boundary adjustment application with an existing dwelling and a well on the subject parcel that is acquiring the additional land, staff has no concerns with the water and wastewater servicing of the parcel. The remnant parcel is used for agricultural purposes with no dwellings present. In terms of municipal reserve, as this is a boundary adjustment application, no municipal reserve is required to be taken as per the Municipal Government Act. We circulated this to all landowners within a half mile of the subject lands, and no letters were received in either support or objection to the application at the time that this report was prepared. So you'll note with the subdivision applications I'm bringing forward right now, the circulation area is only a half mile, even though our land use bylaws changed it to 1 mile. That's because when these subdivision applications were brought in prior to the land use bylaw being adopted, and we do our adjacent circulation right when the application is deemed complete, which would have been prior to the new land use bylaw, so that you'll see a difference in the public hearings this afternoon. There'll be a 1 mile circulation, but all of these will just be at a half mile, just if you're wondering about that. We then did our external circulation. Alberta Health Services had their standard 4 comments. ATCO Pipelines had no objections, and the Western Irrigation District had no objections. Internally, this was circulated and there was no concerns. So I'm now going to go down to the maps in the report just to show you proposed boundary adjustment. So you'll see here the location plan. It looks when this PDF scan, the quarter lines are not very clear. You'll see Township Road 234 and Range Road 264, and then Cheadle's up here in the northeast. This is the proposed boundary change. So you'll see the existing parcel, and the red line is all the additional land that's being added. 4 acres being proposed to be added to this parcel. Here's an area plan. Shows the existing acreage and then the additional proposed land. And then here's the landowner circulation map, which actually does show a mile. There should be the half. So we'll now go back up. Let's show so now I'll just read the proposed conditions for approval. The subdivision is to be affected by a plan of survey. All outstanding taxes must be paid. Number 3, the approaches must be built and located to county standards and approved by Public Works Department. And number 4, the owners to enter into a deferred services agreement. You'll notice that the road acquisition agreement and backsloping are not on here. That's because they were already registered on title as per a previous subdivision. So no need for duplication in that regard. So just to conclude, staff is recommending option 1, subdivision approval based on those previous conditions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Boards of wishes, Brenda?
To the chair, it's on, that would be Glenmore Trail 234, right? Cool. So who would do the approvals on the?
Option 1 or?
No, who will do the approvals on off that? Yeah, is that ours or is that?
I believe it's ours at that point.
Okay. I can't hear you. Your mic isn't on.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Ben's moved. Staff recommendation, option 1. Any questions? All in favor? Carried.
Glenn? Can
Yeah.
I tell a story about this piece?
I don't care. Go right ahead.
This is more history. Goes back years and years ago. Jerry Dane, who lived there, he was one of my buds, and we'd stay at his place, he'd stay at ours. They had an old Democrat, and we'd pull it down the road. He was the horse one day, and I'd be the horse next day. But anyhow, we're pulling this Democrat down the road, and we're about a quarter mile from the building site. Here comes Lee Welshammer moving about 200 head of cattle towards us. You should have seen us move to get that Democrat back to the buildings.
Okay.
Just an old story.
Okay. And we'll move on to file number SD 2017-15. Whenever you're ready, Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Subdivision application SD 2017-15. This application is to subdivide one 24.45 hectare or 60.43 acre parcel from the titled area. Our recommendation is the staff is recommending option 1, subdivision application SD 2017-15 be approved with the conditions noted based on Appendix A. Staff proposed option aligns with the agricultural objectives noted in the MDP. Number 2, the proposed and existing uses on both parcels align with the rules and regulations of the LUB. And number 3, the parcels are able to be adequately supported by existing servicing in staff's opinion, and there is appropriate access to both the proposed and remnant parcel. I'll give a bit of background. The intent of the application is to subdivide the 60 acres from the quarter section. As a bit of history on this parcel, the applicant recently received approval for 2 subdivisions on the same quarter section on March 8th, 2016. This will be the 3rd subdivision on this quarter section in 14 months, and the final subdivision permitted under the municipal development plan if approved. No redesignation was required for this subdivision, as it is designated agricultural general district, and the proposed parcels exceed the minimum parcel size for this district and fulfill the purpose and intent. I'll now go down to the staff report that informed our recommendation. Actually, sorry, I'm going to go up to the leave it on the recommendation here, and I'll go through the staff report that informed our recommendation. So in terms of our first municipal policy review, we looked at it through the municipal development plan. This proposed subdivision application does not fully align with the MDP, as the proposed parcel shape does not follow existing natural boundaries that respect existing conditions on the parcel. A key component of the MDP is to protect and enhance agricultural lands, and section 3.1.1 notes that agricultural objectives that should be considered when reviewing subdivision applications, minimizing the fragmentation of and effects on agricultural lands are noted in this section, which this application conflicts with in terms of its current design cutting through the farm parts of the lands. Staff has proposed an alternative option for subdivision that, in their opinion, aligns with the municipal development plan more closely in terms of the agricultural objectives of the MDP. Please see the map note as the staff proposed option to review this alternate subdivision plan. The proposed staff option follows the existing cultivated part of the parcel in question, while continuing to separate the homestead from the proposed subdivision as per the application. The staff option also allows both parcels to remain over 40+ acres. So I'll just go down and show the maps while I'm talking about that part of the report here. Scroll down. So here's the location plan. It's quite near the new school. This was the plan as submitted by the applicant. So staff's concerns were that it wasn't following the cultivated lands cut through here. And this is for the 60 acres. The axis is off of the highway here, which Alberta Transportation has signed off on. So that's not a concern from staff's perspective. This was the staff's proposed plan. You'll see the green line here where it follows the existing farmed areas of the parcel while allowing the remnant parcel with the homestead to stay over the 40 acre mark as well. It also still allows for that access off of Highway 561. Follows the appropriate natural boundaries, allows for the ag zoning, allows for access to both parcels, and maintains the homestead on the remnant parcel as per the applicant's preference. So that's just to show. I'll just leave it on this for now. In terms of alignment with the natural areas policy of the MDP, there is a sizable wetland, watercourse, and adjacent lake to this proposed subdivision application. However, due to the large parcel size of the proposed application and the lack of concerns brought forward by Alberta Environment and Parks and the county's Internal Agricultural Services Department, there's no concern with alignment issues in regards to Section 3.2 of the MDP. Given the current land use designation, dwelling number restrictions, and parcel size, staff's of the opinion that the impact is not a concern with this application, regardless of the option chosen. In terms of the land use bylaw, the proposed subdivision aligns with the rules and regulations of the LUB. In particular, the uses present on the proposed and remnant parcels align with the AG district's purpose and intent. All future development will be required to align with the rules and regulations of the land use bylaw. In terms of our technical review, the proposed parcel has an existing access off of Highway 561. The remnant parcel has an existing access off of Range Road 230. Both accesses will need to be inspected to ensure they meet current county standards as a condition of subdivision approval. Alberta Transportation has signed off on the continued usage of the existing access off Highway 561. In terms of servicing, staff has no concerns with the water and sanitary servicing of the parcels given their large size. In terms of municipal reserve, as the proposed subdivision is greater than 40 acres, therefore, as per Section 663 of the MGA, MR is not required. This was circulated to all landowners within a half mile of the subject lands, and no letters were received in either support or objection to the application at the time that this report was prepared. In terms of external circulation, there was a unique comment from Alberta Health Services that noted they recommend at a minimum, due to the sensitive nature and lots proposed within the quarter, a Phase 1 ESA be prepared and submitted to ensure that no potential environmental concerns related to current or previous on-site or off-site land uses exist on the subject site. They note if or when a Phase 1 ESA report has been submitted in support of the application, AHS wishes to have an opportunity to review the document as it becomes available, which would allow for the evaluation of any potential environmental and public health concerns related to past and present land use of the property and surrounding areas. Examples include leaking fuel storage tanks, waste oil storage tanks, chemical/pesticide storage and application, buried waste, oil and gas facilities, etc. The other comments are standard. Alberta Transportation commented that after they initially noted presently the application does not appear to comply with any category of Section 14 of the regulation. However, they then state, after a site visit, it was determined that the new access location to be required by the department at the southeast corner of the proposed parcel would be too steep to be safe. Therefore, the department will approve the existing access location at the southwest corner of the proposed 60.4 acre parcel and will not require the new access to be built at the southeast corner of the property. It appears that the one lot being created by this application should not have a significant impact on the provincial highway system. Therefore, Alberta Transportation has no objections and grants an unconditional variance of Section 14 of the Subdivision and Development Regulation. Pursuant to Section 678 of the MGA, Alberta Transportation varies the distance to a highway set out in Section 5 of the Subdivision and Development Regulation. From the department's perspective, any appeals to be heard regarding the subdivision application may be heard by the local Subdivision and Development Appeal Board rather than the Municipal Government Board. ATCO Gas noted that they have no objections. Fisheries and oceans were circulated due to the potential presence of a lake and potential for fisheries. They noted that we do not review notifications for an administrative process and that they have a self-assessment tool now that they use, which was not deemed to be required. The Western Irrigation District noted that they have no objections to this application, and internally there was no concerns. So as noted, there's two options for MPC's consideration. And this is an incorrection. So this is a bit incorrect from the RFD. The RFD notes option 1 is staff's recommendation, but that's actually the applicant's. So I'm just going to go up to the options here. Sorry, my apologies. Staff's actually recommending option 2, which is staff's proposed map option for the following reasons: that it aligns with the agricultural objectives noted in the MDP, and that the proposed and existing uses on both parcels align with the rules and regulations of the LUB, and that the parcel is able to be adequately supported by existing servicing, in staff's opinion, and that there is appropriate access to both the proposed and remnant parcel. So I'll just go through the three options. Option 1 would be to approve this subdivision application based on the conditions attached in Appendix A, and that'd be approved as per the applicant's plan that was submitted. So that was the 60-acre plan. Option 2 would be to approve this subdivision as per staff's proposed map option, which follows the farmed area boundaries of the parcel. Then option 3 is that subdivision application SD 2017-15 be refused. So I'll just show the maps one more time so it's clear. This is option 1, the map as submitted by the applicant. Then option 2, which is staff's proposed plan, or option 3 would be refusal. The proposed conditions for approval: a plan of survey, all taxes to be paid, the applicant to complete and submit a Phase 1 ESA to the satisfaction of the county. That's based off Alberta Health Services comments. And number 4, that approaches are built and located to county standards. You'll notice that the conditions for the deferred service agreement, the backsloping, and the road acquisition agreement aren't on this application. That's because they were put on with the 2 previous subdivisions that were approved March 2016. Go to the recommendations now, the options. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns?
Just a correction through the chair. On your file number and the location, the land description is right, but you've got it 9.0 kilometers northeast of the village of Standard. It's southwest. Right at the top, your first, yeah. Should be southwest.
We'll make that change. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns? Brenda? Brenda?
Yeah,
Alice?
I'd like to hear from the applicant. Thanks.
Is the applicant here? Please. There's some questions for you. Can you come up to the podium, please?
And I'd like to describe.
Okay, Alice, what's your question?
On the change that, through the chair to the applicant, have you got any objection on the change of the way they've designed the land?
Well, yes, and the reason is, and the boundary that we are applying for makes both parcels, ag entities sustainable. We have a horse breeding operation, so we need pasture. So the land, the cultivated land, either pasture or cultivated, it's still going to be in agriculture. And being that it's for will and estate purposes, it's for my daughters. So I would like one business to be sustainable and another one to be sustainable. The one on the south is all irrigation acres plus extra acres put in for a yard site. The north parcel is the horse breeding operation with pasture. And we have a breeding business, so it's like cow-calf. You need to have pasture to be able to run your mares and foals. And as well, the parcel, the line that you had, the boundary you had put in, the county had suggested, it cuts off right at the buildings that we have. And our business is expanding, and if we ever did want to build another barn or put in more facilities alongside of our buildings or along with it, it would end up on the other side of the boundary. And as far as 2 daughters owning it, one would have a barn way over on the other side of the farm, of their farm. And it would take the other building out, or the new barn out of the daughter who has the breeding business.
So, Colton, could you bring that map up so that you're able to point it out a little better for the council?
This, do you want Through the chair, do you want the map submitted by the applicant or the county map?
The applicant. Oh, well, can you put them both on? Yeah. So this one is the one we want to see right now, so that the applicant can explain exactly why she wants the boundary where she wants it. So,
Okay, and do you see, okay, the north boundary of the south parcel? Yes? It gives enough room to pasture animals, and then plus that we can expand the yard site if we have to.
okay.
Yes, Brenda?
So, and that was what I guess, the boundary on this piece over here is, I guess my question is even if Colton moved it, and I understand why he did it.
Yes.
But why didn't, can you tell I'm shaking or what, eh? No steadiness here. Why wasn't the boundary put equal with this one then, is kind of what I wanted to ask you.
Okay, okay. I want to make sure that there was the total irrigated acres with the cultivated piece, and there was enough acreage left with it for the yard site. So that all the irrigated acres were always going to be farmed. And that I didn't cut it off and then all of a sudden they were building buildings on irrigated land.
Okay, so, and this piece down here is irrigated?
Yes,
And so is that done by wheel move then, or pivot?
it was done by wheel move, and now we will probably do pivot or wheel line.
So you have enough room to get a pivot in there on a half?
Yes.
Okay. Well, no, my curiosity was if this was the line on this side, then why didn't it go straight across?
Yeah.
But if it's your acreages, I guess that's fine.
And cutting it in half as far as being fair.
So, and this is all one parcel, right?
Yes.
Okay, for now.
Any other questions? Any other comments, Brenda? Any other comments?
No, I hope I've made it clear that we do run a business on the south, or on the north parcel. It's not just a residence. So as long as you understand that I need the pasture. And whoever takes it, whichever girl takes it, is going to need that pasture.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
Well, can I ask before you decide? Just
Sure.
about the study. What does the study entail? I'm not quite sure. That they've been asked to do is with health and services?
Sure. It's through the chair. So the environmental site assessments that was requested by Alberta Health Services. Sorry, I have to look at the chair just for the camera. This is kind of a weird setup, but through the chair. The environmental site assessments to look at any previous spills, and it's a desktop study where they come to the county and ask for files regarding the history of the land, and they go back through aerial photographs to determine if there's been any contamination of the land. This has been requested previously by Alberta Health Services on sites adjacent to rail lines or where there's been known activity, potentially a feedlot, those type of things. It's an interesting suggestion for a parcel of this large size. However, given Alberta Health Services is requesting it, the county is bound to put that as a condition of subdivision approval.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
It does. I just don't see the necessity of it just because you had said the price. So I don't, is there any, do we have, discussing it, it's just what we have to watch.
Through the chair. So it's MPC's decision if they would like to leave that condition on. If that condition remains, you do have the ability to appeal that condition to the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board.
Colton, is there a reason why they asked for it, or they just asked for it?
Through the chair, the reasoning they provided in their comments was due to the number of parcels on the quarter section. Now that it's maxed out at, I guess, the 5 parcels on the quarter section, I believe they have internal density numbers that they look at when they require it. That was the only rationale that was provided to me by Norm.
But these are all fairly new subdivisions.
Right.
Okay. Any questions?
No questions, comment. It's to your advantage to go through with it. To your advantage to have that in place.
For will and estate purposes, yes.
Yeah, it is.
It very much, yes. I just have to take what I have left and divide it up for my children. That's what it is.
Okay, do you have a concern of doing it?
What a concern in doing,
The environmental,
I
Study.
don't know how much it costs, I don't know anything, and I was just wondering what it was, and if it's really costly, is it really, is it important to do?
Okay.
I didn't know if I had a choice, I didn't know if you wanted to discuss it with me, or, I don't know anything about it.
Through
so
the
I'm-
chair, the only time it gets costly is if they find something.
Oh, okay.
First level isn't very bad. It's,
Okay.
that's why you would, if you're ever gonna move any of that land somewhere else, you'd be nice to have that.
And for the girls, like even if they wanted in the future, when they take it over, it probably will be something good to have.
I would
This level
think,
one isn't good.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
I don't know if we could ballpark a price for it, or,
Through the chair, I'm not equipped to come in with a price, but I can say that a previous applicant did note that it was about $3,000 for the phase 1 environmental site assessment. However, that may have been specific to their parcel, so I'm just sharing that, and that might be in no way reflective of what the price might be for this parcel.
okay, okay with that?
Yeah, well, it won't have to be, and like you said, it's a benefit to Snow and
Okay.
to the girls, so yeah, sure.
Okay, any other questions? Boards? Wishes? Alice?
Yes. I'll just bring up the recommendations. I would like to recommend the option 1, which is the boundaries that were given to the MPC by the applicant. And she's given a good enough explanation on the reasoning behind keeping it's all going to be farmland, it's going to be kept farmland, and part of it will be pasture. So I'm satisfied with that. And with the rest of the recommendations with the application 1.
All the conditions? Option 1, any questions? All in favor? Opposed? This is carried. Thanks for coming in. And file number SD 2017-23.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's boundary adjustment day as well as variance day, it appears. So the application is to facilitate a boundary adjustment of 4.04 hectares or 10 acres between 2 parcels. No new parcels are being created as a result of this boundary adjustment. And you see the PDF is doing that thing again. Okay. So staff's recommending option 1, that the subdivision be approved based on the conditions noted in Appendix A, as it largely aligns with the municipal development plan, and the proposed application aligns with the rules and regulations of the land use bylaw, and the staff has no concerns with the servicing of the subject parcels. So the location, it's adjacent to Township Road 252 and approximately 0.4 kilometers east of the hamlet of the Lakes of Murfield. The legal description of the subject parcels are Lot 1, Block 1, Plan 091-3707, and Lot 2, Block 2, Plan 091-3707. The owners are, there's a number of them, so there's Edward and Fiona Forner, so they own Lot 1, Block 1, and then there's Reg Proudfoot and Christine Forner, and they own Lot 2, Block 1. The applicant is Dillon Consulting. The titled area of the 2 parcels, so they're both 19.89 acres, and the existing land use is agricultural general district on both parcels. As noted, no new parcels are proposed, and this subdivision application is to facilitate a shift of 10 acres from Lot 2 to Lot 1 within the Block 1, Plan 091-3707. The purpose of this is for estate planning purposes, as both parcels are designated agricultural general district as per the land use bylaw. No redesignation was required to facilitate this application. In terms of our municipal policy review, the proposed boundary adjustment aligns with the MDP as it does not fragment or remove agricultural land from production. Section 3.1 of the MDP speaks to preserving agricultural land and outlines the objectives and policies that should be considered. As this application does not propose any additional parcels and impact the farming operations on the property, Staff's of the opinion that the MDP's goals are met. Section 3.2 of the MDP speaks to environmental policies and objectives that should be followed. The proposal does not impact environmentally sensitive areas and aligns with this section of the MDP. In terms of the land use bylaw, the proposed boundary adjustment area and existing parcels have a land use designation of agricultural general district. All future development will be required to align with the rules and regulations of the land use bylaw. So you'll note under the previous land use bylaw, these parcels would have had to have been rezoned to agricultural small holdings district before. That with the new land use bylaw being adopted, it streamlined the process so they're able to proceed as agricultural general district parcels. In terms of access, both parcels that are the subject of the boundary adjustment have access off of Township Road 252. Both accesses will be required to be inspected to ensure they are built to county standards as a condition of subdivision approval. Both parcels have existing dwellings, septic fields, and water wells. As this is a boundary adjustment and no new parcels are proposed, staff has no concerns with the water or sanitary servicing of the parcel. And as this is a boundary adjustment application, no municipal reserve as cash in lieu is required for the application as per the MGA. The proposal was circulated to all landowners within a half-mile of the subject lands. There was no letters received in either support or objection to the application at the time that the report was prepared. We then circulated this to external agencies. Alberta Health Services had no concerns, and they noted if there's any contamination that they wish to be notified. ATCO Gas had no objections. ATCO Pipelines had no objections. Rosebud Gas commented that they have no objections, and the WID commented that they have no objections. Internally, there was found to be no concerns. So I'll now go down to the maps here. Excuse me. Okay, so this is the location plan here. So you'll see it's quite close to the lakes of Murfield. These parcels are not within the homesteads development. Here's the area plan. So this red line is the existing boundary. The dashed line is the proposed boundary adjustment. So it's shifting it over 10 acres. This was the plan as submitted by the applicant. And it's just showing the same. The dashed line is the new proposed boundary. So you'll see it actually better aligns with the existing farmed land in this homestead to the east of the one here. And the circulation map. Just go up. Go to these options since the other ones were cut off, seem to be cut off in the RFD. So staff's recommending option 1 that subdivision SD 2017-23 be approved with the conditions noted in Appendix A. And the conditions noted are a plan of survey, all outstanding taxes to be paid up, and the approaches to be built and located to county standards. Just leave it on these options. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Colton. Any questions or concerns? Brenda?
Just a correction, it's Division 5. Yeah, on that one.
Thank you.
Nothing.
What's that? Nothing?
I'm just going to make a motion.
Any questions? Ask everyone for others. Anybody in the audience have any questions, concerns? Okay, board's wishes.
So I'll make a motion to take staff recommendation for approval with the proposed conditions and Appendix A.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Brenda? All in favor? Carried. Thanks for coming in.